Hello, Mia DeBolt here, bringing you more transparency in trading. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today is day 13 of the Funded Trader Challenge, and I still haven't started my FTMO challenge, and that's okay because I'm really focused on the Funded Trader right now and trying to pass that challenge. So I say trying because today I kind of put myself back in a hurt locker. And I don't know about you, but I found the markets very difficult today. So I do have a little confession to make. I did take 3 trades and I only got 1 recorded. And unfortunately, it was because of operator error. So I didn't have my Zoom recording recorded when I thought it was recording. So just to cover all the trades today, I do have the first one recorded, and then the other 2, I'll go over the charts in Tradingview. Okay, my friends, let's jump into the charts and see exactly what I saw today, what I took, and also a little of the ups and downs that I experienced. Okay, so I do like to look at the DXY in the morning, and it was making its way down to the liquidity down here. So it already had taken a daily low, and it was also headed for this daily low as well. So I do have some significant points here that I was looking for it to take, but more importantly than that, I was looking at the time. So 7 a.m. we had red folder news, and so that's kind of where I like to trade after the fact, just to see where the price is actually going and if it's going to actually head down that direction and push the S&P up. So with the regular trading hours toggles on Tradingview, I do have an opening range, and I like to see that that starts to be taken. So that's kind of where we're going to start here. And I'm going to fast forward to kind of where I started trading. Okay, so after the 7 a.m. news, I saw that price was starting to push up. There was a 15-minute breaker that I like to sell off of, and I had a sell kind of ready to go. And I was looking at a 15-minute bearish order block. So that's kind of what I have here, a 15-minute breaker set and the mean threshold of that bearish order block. All right, so price is starting to push up, and I'm just gonna fast forward because I'm just watching and studying price action on the 1 minute and just looking at how it's respecting this 1 minute fair value gap, pushing through, using this as support. And let's continue on. I do enter late. So this is my first mistake. So because I had this ready to go, I was looking at this. It was above the algorithm open. It was above the New York Stock Exchange open. It had the breaker that I wanted. And so this is my first mistake, was just hesitating on that actual location. I was waiting for displacement. So that was something that I have learned in the past, is just buy side has been taken, and I do want to wait for that reaction and make sure that that is going to continue bearish. However, I did hesitate way too long. So, and this is where I'm going to show you exactly where the displacement happens, and I just am way too low and way too slow to get into this trade. So it goes up, and this is a daily open gap as well, this little pink area. And so it does react from the mean threshold of the bearish order block. And so it's starting to just react and create weakness. So I'm gonna fast forward this because it does start pushing down aggressively. Okay, so there's where it starts pushing down, creates that 1 minute fair value gap. And this is where I just hesitate. And unfortunately, because of that hesitation, I do miss the optimal trade entry, which would have been a little bit right here. And it also wasn't a super high quality trade because price hadn't actually pushed down to break that structure. So we had a new weak open gap right here, and that is kind of where the draw on liquidity is. It took that short-term low, and that's where I entered. So it's way too low in the expansion, and there is some fair value gap here. However, it does end up retracing a little bit to that 1 minute bearish order block, and it does push down a little bit. Because of spreads, I'm still underwater even though it looks like it's break even, and I should be in profit a little bit down here. However, it starts pushing up and does so aggressively. So I got taken out at 1.09. That's what my tracker says. So the loss was actually 1.12 because of spreads. So again, that's 8 cap, and that's just the way that 8 cap is, and that's just something I have to manage. So in between the morning session and the afternoon session, I like to walk away and just reset, get something to eat, get some water, do something that's other than trading related, and that way I can kind of just reset for the PM session. Okay, so I did enter in the PM session, and I entered around 10:15 my time, which is around 1:15 after the lunch hour is done in New York session. And so that's after the London close, and it's typically when price likes to move around the 1:30 time in New York time. So that's kind of a little bit early, because immediately when I entered this, I immediately felt offside. So I actually closed it out. You can see my little arrow here, and I did close it out at a 0.21% loss. And so I know that it's a loss, and it did oscillate back and forth. However, it would have come really close to my stop loss. And the other thing was that even though my Tradingview said that the buy side was taken, on the EMini it actually wasn't taken. So I wasn't comfortable with that sell, even though it looked like it would have played. So I'm going to cover my PM trades on Tradingview. That way you can kind of see how close I really was to getting stopped out. So this is the trade that I entered at 10:15 my time. And the most important thing that I'm really happy that I actually closed this when I did was that it took about an hour, over an hour, to actually start moving and go in the opposite direction. So it did use that 5-minute fair value gap as resistance, and it did take about 50 minutes to actually start falling and start going in the direction that I wanted it. So all day today I was looking to sell. I was watching the DXY, and it did take 2 of those daily lows and then started pushing up. And so that was my signal to actually start selling. And so that was my first sell, and I did close it for a small little loss. And so trade number 3 was actually taken at 11:41, and that was my time, PST. And immediately when I entered that, because of spreads, it was kind of underwater. It was oscillating around the algorithm open, which is the midnight of New York. The algorithm opens and starts moving around. And so that's kind of where it started retracing, and it almost stopped me out. So I risked 0.5% on this trade. I walked away at the very end because, quite frankly, I just didn't want to watch another loss. I didn't want to get scar tissue, as ICT would say. So I really believed in this trade. It was something that I knew was going to eventually drop. I just wasn't sure if I was too early or not. So I walked away, accepted the risk, just didn't want to watch it and babysit it, because I was actually going to close it. I was hovering over the little close area, and fortunately it did end up going in my direction. The unfortunate part is that around the time where it's starting to make a new low and to go for this sell side liquidity, I actually had to close it. And so I did end up only getting 0.25% out of this. And the reason was because I like to listen to music. My Spotify wasn't working on my computer, so I wasn't able to control my music as well as I like. And so when I was listening to my focus music, which I like to listen to when I'm in the trade, it actually started playing some funky music. It was weird. It was so weird. It snapped me out of my focus. And when I get snapped out of my focus, especially when I'm in a trade, I just immediately close it out, because I don't want to make a decision that's not going to bode well. And unfortunately, this was a trade that I should have just let go. However, had it been a trade that turned around on me, I wouldn't have been able to really focus on that decision. And so again, it was kind of a rash decision. It was something that, in hindsight, having been on a little bit of sleep for the day as well, it wasn't necessarily the best decision, but I did end up closing it all and wanting to maybe get back into the trade. So I didn't end up re-entering after this trade had started to go. It did give me another entry here, which I was looking at. However, I didn't actually take that. And it would have been a beautiful trade as well, because it did end up going pretty far down. The standard deviation here was down here, and that would have been the next day. However, it did come down and take significant lows. So it went down, it closed bearish, just like I was expecting for the day, and it would have been a beautiful trade, just short term. So all in all, I am underwater again in my account, and unfortunately I'm at 0.43. I really can't keep up with all the fluctuations of the 8 cap, and I do have 2 more days to get this back up to profit, which I know I can do. So it's just going to be a small trade probably tomorrow. So likely, because I only have 2 days left of this challenge, I'm just going to go back up to profit. I'm going to wrestle my account back up and just be really conservative about the very last trade that I take so that it is in profit. So that way I can reset and just start all over back at ground zero. So I can do that with all the lessons that I have learned from the trading that I've already done this year. So my friends, trading is not always going to be smooth sailing. We're going to have our ups and downs. We're going to have some mistakes, and that's okay. As long as we give ourselves love and grace along the way, we absolutely will dust ourselves off and we'll be back and ready the next day. All right, my friends, well, I hope that you got something valuable from this video. If not, just to cut yourself some slack and know that today was the last day of February. So just be ready for March. I'm sure it's going to be a great month of trading. So my friends, if you want to continue this journey with me to that 7-figure mark, make sure that you subscribe below, because there's going to be lessons that are learned along the way, and every losing trade is one step closer to that winning trade. And I know that that is just around the corner. Maybe it's going to be tomorrow. I know that the passing of my challenges absolutely will come as well. It's just a matter of time. All right, my friends, thank you so much for joining me. Subscribe below if you are looking to follow me on this journey, and we'll see you in the next trade. Bye.